Hello everyone and welcome to his author's voice. I am the author, Jack Sanger. The story you're about to hear takes place, at least at the beginning, in Samarkand, in Uzbekistan. I visited there once when I was working in Uzbekistan. Memories of it led me to write this story. The Fortune Trader of Samarkand. I am the most talked about person in royal courts, yet no one knows my name. I am the smoke in your chimney above the fire that is about to vanish into the thin air. I am a man to most, but a woman to a few. I live in a palace in Samarkand with views that snatch at the heart. I wear white cotton in summer and grey fur in winter. I am served the most exotic dishes and the best wines known to moguls, emperors and kings. I have steam baths and massages every evening, and a nomad wife who visits on whim. Truly you are blessed, I hear you say. Would that you knew the full of it before wasting such words upon the wind. How is all this possible for a man, woman, born to peasants in the lands of ice? All in good time. I begin this tale when already grown, already rich, already feared like no one before me. As must be the case, a box of treasure in jewels arrived via a passing caravan flanked by armed riders. The captain, who handed his prize burden over to me, would not meet my eye. Though a fierce fighting man, he could not face the supernatural in its lair without trembling. I had them washed and dined and bedded for the night before their arduous return. Once alone I opened the box. In it was a small square of stiff hide in an ornamented jewellery box tied up with oiled cord and with the knot waxed hard. The hide bore an image, hand-drawn, of a noble man. He was recognizable instantly because of his single eye and forked beard, each side plaited and tied with gold wire. I lifted the square of hide to my nose, and the faint scent of kifi still lingered after weeks of travel. The next day after their departure, I too dressed for travel. Warm wool undergarments and strong dark brown leather overgarments, a brimmed hat to cover my long bunched hair, a short sword, several knives, and saddlebags of food, poisons, female wear, and of course my cards. I said my goodbyes, left the best of the new cache of jewels for my wife to find nestling in our bed, light-saddled 3 horses, and set off. None could travel at my speed. I passed the captain's caravan within an hour, keeping out of sight, and I joined the Silk Road, tracking west. Unlike normal riders, I could sleep in the saddle, though at a reduced pace. There were many travelling cohorts of soldiers, honest travellers, brigands and traders, journeying both east and west. They could only have glimpsed my passing as a shadowy wraith, if they saw me at all. Stopping at intervals for the well-being of my animals, I came, after a week of hard driving, to a hilltop view of the city gates of my destination. In thick woodland I changed clothing to that of a woman trader, velvets and hard-wearing boots. I dropped my hair down my back and then secreted my travel uniform, saddles, knives save one, and sword in the hollow arch of an old tree. I hung a bag over my shoulder containing what I might need for my work. The horses knew my habits and wandered off to forage. They would stay for days within the scent of their saddles, but keep from human sight. At the heavily guarded gate I was given a brief glance and told to wait. Eventually the captain came out. "You are not from here," he said in the tongue of the city people. "No, I trader fortunes," I replied, in the halting tongue of the lands east of there. "Ah, what use you for these wicked acts?" he grinned. "Palms? Leaves of hibiscus? Chinese tiles?" He was boasting his knowledge of the witch's craft in front of his men. "As wish you, but in cards I see much." "Come inside." I followed him inside, and on a table I performed the sacred 7 from my pack. The strange beauty and colours of the Indian gods made him stop in wonder. He was easy to read, and as I laid out its history and future, he blurted out information that helped me along. I ended with tracing his palm with my forefinger and gave him news of a son to be soon born. Thus he was satisfied and led me inside the city. He gave me an address and the name of someone who would like to hear portents of their coming days. Within 3 days in that city, I passed through the rooms of richer and richer households. Word of tongue led me finally to an audience in the Queen's chamber. With the door closed and guards out of hearing, I took out the square of hide with the king's image. There was the scent of Kifi in the air. She was unsurprised, immediately suspecting me of being the one whose gifts she had summoned by down payment. My female face and gentle demeanour did, however, surprise her. She was young, round like an apple, but with lively eyes and mouth, a colouring of skin from the Turkish south, I guessed. "Are you a woman?" she asked. "Is it possible for one to do as you do?" "I am one and both," I replied, now using the tongue of the court. "They kill your sort at birth in my lands," she said frankly. "My parents felt me charmed," I said. "When I was thrust out, a great hawk flew down into the field where my mother squatted, and cut the cord with its beak before carrying away my dead twin." "Twin?" "That which is attached to all babies. It has a spirit, we believe. I seemed a girl at first, but later changed. Yet my features still enjoy the best of both sexes." "Oh, it is true, you are most attractive," she said, pouting, "and your voice is like a siren's." There were noises outside. She hurriedly arranged the small table and 2 cushions, and I laid out the sacred 7 as I had been taught, and proceeded to pretend to divine for her. There was a knock at the door. "Who disturbs me?" she called. "Josephus," came a querulous response. "It is the vizier," she whispered. "Good." Then she called out, "Enter." A very ancient white-bearded fellow in dreary brown clothes came into the room, stopped and stared. "What is this?" A miracle worker, a diviner of future times. I am beholden to her already. She says I will give the king 3 males of his blood. Is that not good news, Josephus? I was in admiration of her quick mind. The old man nodded. If true, it is great news indeed. Then he added, His Highness awaits you. Ah, then I shall come. A servant will see you to a room for the night, she said to me brusquely, and left. I was taken to the quarters of a lady in waiting and laid myself down on cushions to rest and wait. The next day I was summoned to read the cards for the king. He only permitted the queen to be present. I took the cards out, a square of silk binding them, and put them in front of him. What must I do? He spoke in the brutish tongue of the general he once was, before his violent campaign to take the throne. Take out the cards, mix them how you will, and place 7 in a circle, heads inward. He did, caressing them as he did so. These are from India? He asked, his one eye seeing an image of a half-man, half-elephant, as he laid them out. They are wondrous creations. Indeed, Your Highness. I stared at them with pursed lips. They speak of many things, I ventured. Of the past, of now, of future times. I've heard much before from sorceresses. Let us hear your incantations. I divined for him. He was much persuaded by my gift. It was when we came to the future that I was careful to tread softly. The queen will have 3 male children. Good, good. I snatched her young enough to breed sturdily. The throne will rule great territories, at present beyond its borders. Oh, I am indebted to you. I spoke softly and quickly as though in a trance. When I had done, I asked him to take up the cards and place them in the silk. I said my work was done and I must now leave to continue my travels. He called the vizier. Give her a handful of akshi, Josephus, and see she is escorted with good grace to the gates. A bag of silver coins in my hand, and following a certain glance between myself and the queen, I started for the door. Do you know why you have made me a contented man? He asked. Your Highness? A seeress told me that I would die childless at the hands of a half-creature, one who was allowed to live despite being a disfigured abomination at birth. A creature that, it is said, can enter the greatest fortresses by dint of subterfuge and leave without hindrance, but it will appear to all a most natural, if sudden, death. I smiled. I've heard such tales, I said, bending a knee. Then I left. My horses came at my call. I changed back into manly clothes. I carefully cleaned the poison from the cards, packed them safe, and began a more leisurely journey back to Samarkand. That was The Fortune Trader of Samarkand. I hope you enjoyed it. There are a couple of other stories that plough a somewhat similar furrow, divining futures, and which you can listen to on this channel, his author's voice, Stories with a Twist, are The Magus and the Prophetess and The Gift of Death. On the other hand, the idea of someone bringing a future with them and changing lives occurs in The Woman on the Train, which is set in Cathar country. Please make sure you subscribe and press that button. And it would be great if you pass this link on to friends. Meanwhile, if you prefer to read my stories rather than listen to my voice, you can go to my website, www.jacksanger.com, and there you can download plays, novels, short stories for free, or you can donate. It's entirely up to you. So, that's all for now. I hope you come back for more soon. Bye. Bye-bye.